Well, hello folks, and welcome back to another Lightroom session with Plump. Today it's primarily going to be focused on finding which one of these kind of landscape pictures, but mostly just the sky. Which one of these I want to edit and will turn into the best end image. And I've got a couple little bug pictures that I took tonight. This is a picture from a storm that came through the other day. You can see the glorious rain coming down through the clouds. Let's see, there might not be a whole lot I can do with this. I'm not particularly fond of how it turned out, but I don't know. Sometimes you can just completely mess with an image in here and create something that you didn't see to begin with. You don't necessarily have to start with a great picture, but it certainly helps. Like we can get that side all lit up. Maybe make that side even more dark and menacing than it is. It's real easy to turn a picture into something far more artsy than what you had actually saw with your own eyes. For a long time I tried to reach a balance where I made my pictures as close to reality as I possibly could, but again, on some of them you can just do really neat things. Like there's no way my eyes could see that much detail, but by cranking the clarity up it kind of brings out additional texture. You could really fuck with the saturation here, which I like. It brings out the oranges to contrast with the blues and grays here. Not bad, actually. I mean, it's not a great picture, but I do like that it's got a profile of rain falling down and stuff like that. It's not something that I capture very often, because it's normally raining directly on me. So, yeah, we could definitely overexpose that section. Make it almost look like there's lightning going off there, even though there's not. I don't know if I want more blue there of the sky or to just overexpose it. That's the type of questions I have to ask myself while working on these pictures. I kind of like it overexposed like that. Again, I could crank the light down and we could have a lot more detail there. But I think that blowing it out like that actually kind of looks better to me. Then you got this bright egg setting over the setting sun with the various rains coming in. I don't know how dark I want to make that. Too dark and the picture loses all meaning on that side, more or less. Leave a little bit of trace there of the rains blocking out everything else. Okay. I'm pretty much done with this picture, I think. This is what it looked like before we started touching it up. Pretty much flat. Nothing really there that pops out and grabs the eye. But with just a little bit of editing, didn't spend too much time, and I definitely didn't go into detail, like painting various areas, and micromanaging the picture. So I actually like that. It didn't turn out too bad. And then we can crop it if we want, get more of that ground off of there. Bring that in, but I like the full frame right there. So we're into today's picture. Today's picture sets. You guys are going to be seeing this tree a whole lot. This is basically what I see whenever I step out my front door right now. And that tree provides an absolute perfect foreground to whatever the sky is doing at that point in time. Tonight, whenever I went out, I thought that it was really cool. That little cloud was just sitting back there, kind of blocking out the sun. Yeah, it's way overexposed. I've been starting to overexpose my pictures a little bit. That way I've got more room in the light range to work with. I can crank the exposure down if I want. And then have a lot of playroom here for like blowing things out and generally just making the foreground completely silhouetted so that you can't see it. So even just a little touch up like that has completely altered the picture into something that is almost usable. I mean, that's not a horrible picture, but that's not the one we're going to be using. I'm going to reset that. I don't want to mark on it, telling me to come back and check it out. But it's almost like a time lapse. You can see the clouds continuing to float by, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with them. Like, I was waiting for some really good sunbeams to just start jutting out the sides. Maybe about there. Light up that little corner. I'm just gonna leave those for now, I think. But anyways, those clouds floated by, and then something much bigger and more interesting started to come into the picture. This little cloud monstrosity here. I really had high hopes and expectations for this one. Like that it would interact with the sun and the tree just right. So a little bit of editing brings out all the details. Again, I used to not use Lightroom at all. I thought that my pictures were good enough without being edited. But no, that's simply not the case. Eventually the sun did start to go down behind the tree, and I wanted to capture it kind of nested in the tree. Let's see, that's way too far over. It's a nasty little bug that I found climbing around. I think it's a cicada. I'm not sure. Anyways, and then this little thing popped up for some reason. Not entirely sure what formed it, but let's see. I don't much care for having the trees on the side in the picture. So let's just crop those out. Bring that in. Sound like something just fell off my wall. It didn't, but okay. So we can kind of paint it as to this dark looming, almost storm cloud picture coming in. I'm not too thrilled about the sun's position, though. As the sun sets, the darkness arrives, more or less. And crank the shadows down. I don't really know. There's a lot of different techniques and things you can do with the sliders. For me, I just play with them until I get an image that I like, generally. I don't really aim to completely recreate what I saw. So, it started off like this, and we've completely darkened the storm clouds that were coming through. They definitely weren't this dark in reality, and if we crank the saturation up, we can turn it into almost a cartoon picture. Not generally I try to be careful with the saturation, because like that completely washes that out to be an orange, almost desert-like sunset, but it doesn't really address the issue up here, which is kind of fine because it shows that the cloud is segmenting the sunlight up here for some reason. I don't know why it would be. I don't know if I want to leave that or not. If I want to edit it a little bit more. I think maybe we'll leave that one like it is. Do I have any that might be different? See, this one has the sun rays that I really like. I like capturing those. Contrast is pretty self-explanatory. I'm definitely not gonna explain it properly, but it makes whites and darks contrast better with each other. Let's see, take the shadows. I don't really want it melting into that tree so much. Be just one big black blob over there. See, that's not a bad picture either. And if we crank the saturation up, even just a little bit, starts to drastically alter the color. So it went from this washed out picture, overexposed, to this that has life, character, a little bit of warmth. I'm not too fond of this entire blue sky up here. And again, whenever I take a series of shots like this, I generally just try to choose one to post, and I think it'll be this one. If this one was a little bit less, I don't know, let's see. What can I do with this one? Again, I've got to be careful that the tree doesn't merge with the cloud. What about saturation on this one? It almost looks like a rabbit sleeping back there, actually. If the tree wasn't in the way, you'd be able to fully see the rabbit. So we've got this one. This one. I like this one because of all the different texture here. Even though this looks like busted egg yolk. That one would be good if there was more clouds up here. I think I'll go with this one for now. I might actually export and post both of these, but I'm not sure. Might do a little bit more tweaking off screen and try and decide. But then let's check out this bug. It was climbing on a piece of metal, and I snapped a few pictures from it. You can tell it just climbed itself right out of the dirt. Who knows how many years it's been down there. Is this one of those cicadas that only wakes up every 8 years or something? I was hoping I could capture him busting out of his shell there. But I picked him up and put him on a tree instead, with some leaves. I normally don't mess with things like this to make pictures, but I felt that it provided a much better backdrop. And he didn't seem to mind it too much that I picked him up. So, let's see. That is definitely not what I want to do. There's my rotate. So I do that. I might have to shrink it down a little bit more so we can get this guy in the center in all of his glory. And then the question is, do we want him like this, or... That was the wrong one. Or like this. I don't like him looking that way. That just looks weird. So... This is all types of fucky trying to move it around. Okay. Question is, what can we do with this thing? It's not too overexposed. The only thing I've got is a flash on my camera. It's not very powerful. And my little headlamp. That is really hard to maneuver around the flash. I don't think there's a whole lot I can do with this picture. The shadow kind of ruins it, in my opinion. I didn't get his entire body lit up. I might not actually use any of these of this bug. Friggin' little hairy beast, isn't he? Again, that's one thing I've noticed with insects. Every single one of them is hairy. Hairy little demons. A nasty little wood roach on a tree outside. They really did not like, there was more of them out there. But as soon as I shined my light on them, they all scurried for cover. I like how he's transparent. Say, light up the shadow part of him. I'd like to take down the brightness on the wood just a little bit. So if I crank that up and then take the exposure down a little bit. It's of course going to affect everything in the picture. Okay. Center him a little bit. Little disgusting thing. You don't want... If you ever find these in your house, just burn it down to the ground. Crank the clarity up a little bit. It doesn't really need any saturation. It's already disgusting looking. So yeah, just a little bug. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time editing that. Another bug for the collection. I was trying to get a spider picture too. That's actually pretty damn cool. I wish I would have got his face. But he didn't really want to turn around and play along. So this is a good picture right here, detail-wise. This one's got way more detail on its, I want to say that's its abdomen, but I think it's got another specific name. I don't think it does me a whole lot of good to have this in crystal clear detail, but the main part of it be blurry. So let's crank that down. I'm gonna get some of this glare gone from the overabundance of light. Just friggin' rippling through him right there. Probably won't be able to adjust too much of it. It's like, how zoomed in do we want to go on this thing? Normally I try to leave some of the spider's webs. We'll pull him down, have the web still being detailed up here. And really, I don't think there's a whole lot I'm going to do with this picture either. Take the saturation up and forcefully add a little bit more color. Not a good picture, because again, on spiders I prefer to see their face, but still got good detail back here and everything. Yeah. And then just one last grasshopper picture for the night. During the day it's hard to get close to these things. They always jump away as soon as I start inching my camera closer to them. So, what can we do with you, little grasshopper? He'll definitely be getting a dash of saturation, but this has already brought out the eyes and the color in it, the detail in the stock. This was a good picture. It doesn't need a whole lot of tweaking to it. Maybe take down the glare a little bit. Always with the glare. And then bring out some of the details in the shadows here. If we crank clarity up, that brings out a ton of detail on the grasshopper that would otherwise lay dormant and hidden. And then just, again, just a touch of saturation to really offset those horrible, murderous red eyes. So, I will definitely export that one. So yeah, that was tonight's batch of pictures. Not too bad. We got a decent storm edit in. A setting sun. And a couple bugs for tonight. The next time I do this, I'll probably be editing a nighttime picture and attempting to bring the Milky Way into detail. Sometimes the Milky Way is a little bit of a pain in the ass to wrangle out. So So yeah, thanks for joining me, guys, in another episode of Lightroom Shenanigans.